Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, I will now continue the unfinished story. Chapter 41, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 8. Chapter 41, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 8. Brother Ju, this is. Wang Tanzi was scared and began stuttering again. If I don't interrupt you, are you going to continue beeping yourself? Feng Bujue asked. Brother Feng, how did you bypass the curse word censor? Long Ayaman exclaimed. Obviously, it's because there was no insulting intention behind my word, so the sentence itself wasn't blocked by the system. Since the term itself is not that cultured, it was replaced with a beep, Feng Bujue explained. Then again, now doesn't seem like the time to discuss this problem, right? Bang bang bang. Hua la la. The sound of explosions and glass shattering happened consecutively. The lamps on the wall exploded at the same time, causing darkness to fall. Before the commotion even ended, Feng Bujue had already taken out the flashlight from his backpack. He switched it on and aimed the stroke of light upward. Is that really necessary? They could have just switched it off. Looks like the mysterious power here has a flair for the dramatic. As he said that, he put on the eye of hostility. When Xiao Tan and Brother Long saw the light in the dark, they turned their back to Feng Bujue and gradually retreated to his side. As they did that, they also retrieved the flashlights from their inventory, using them to light the space before them. Passing Rain and Laughing Soul had their own source of light. Passing Rain held an old-looking lamp. Even though it looked worn, the item's attributes were not that bad. Item name, lamp with permanent weak light. Item type, tool. Quality, poor. Function, lighting. Special effect, will never be extinguished. Remark, this lamp was once a powerful magical item, but after it was broken, it never got repaired. In its current form, it can only bring light to a 5-meter radius around the user. The brightness of the light cannot be adjusted, and it cannot be turned off. Thankfully, it has a fuel reserve that will never run out. She placed the lamp on the long table, and as the item description said, the lamp did not flicker at all and lit up the 5 meters around it. Laughing Soul took out a yellow miner's hat and switched on the light that it was attached to it. She held the hat in her hands. Perhaps the hat was uncomfortable or she did not think it was fashionable. The group all lowered their breathing to listen to the possibility of threat approaching them from the dark. Suddenly, there was a tingling sound coming from above them. They all looked up and saw the large chandelier above the table being pulled suspiciously by a mysterious force, and the person that it was aiming at was Feng Bujue. In the split second, the iron chain that held the chandelier suddenly snapped. The object that was half the size of a washing machine flew at Feng Bujue. The man's first reaction was to crawl under the table, but there was someone whose reaction was faster than Feng Bujue's, and it was not just one step faster. Passing Rain skipped and kicked at the chair behind her. She launched herself into the air. She was agile, but there was still a feminine grace that characterized her movement. The blade flew out of its sheath, and it glinted dangerously in the dark. With a clean cut, she slashed at the falling chandelier. After the chandelier's metallic frame split in half, the force that controlled the object disappeared, and gravity took over. The chandelier crashed noisily to the ground. Passing Rain achieved a soft landing and used one hand to wipe the hair that had fallen on her face back while holding the blade in the other. Her breathing did not even change after such a heroic action. Impressive was too weak a word to describe it. Xiao Tan and Brother Long were stunned. The memory of Feng Bujue smashing the zombie's head in the day before paled in comparison. The warrior princess before them was at least 10 times better than the man both. In terms of skill and cruelty. Once one compared the fight scene of these two, it was like comparing the real deal and its counterfeit, there was no comparison. No need to thank me. Passing Rain saw Feng Bujue open his lips, so she cut him off first. Feng Bujue swallowed the "thank you for your aid, wonderful heroine" down his throat and thought to himself, thankfully, the words did not leave my lips. That sentence is often plied by little characters in wuxia movies. He cleared his throat and said, Passing Rain, can you turn that lamp brighter? No, Passing Rain answered bluntly. Can you let me look at it? Feng Bujue asked. Why? Passing Rain bounced the question back. I have a skill that can repair a machinery-type object for a short period of time, Feng Bujue explained. If your lamp is below normal quality. Before he finished, Passing Rain used her blade to pick up the lamp and shoved it toward him. It's poor. She preferred accurate and short descriptions, so he understood her perfectly. He accepted the lamp and activated a hasty repair. The system told him, skill activation failed. Feng Bujue was not that surprised because the chance of failure was higher. His workmanship mastery was F, and the chance of successful skill activation was 20%. In other words, he had been lucky when he managed to fix the flashlight on his first try the previous time. This time, that luck did not continue. He tried the skill 2 more times before activating it. He exhausted 300 stamina points, but at least once the lamp was fixed, it managed to shower the entire dining room with its glow. The dining room was huge. In fact, it was the biggest room of all the rooms that they had visited. When the light came on, in the furthest corner away from the group stood a shadow, a ghostly shadow. It was the shape of a middle-aged man, and he was wearing a classic black suit. His skin was pale and his eyes sunken. He had a very recognizable face, his forehead was large, and his jaw was square. Based on common rumors, a ghost's appearance was a reflection of their appearance when they took their last breath or the appearance that they favored the most when they were still alive. From the ghost's appearance, there was no mistaking that this was Roderick Usher. Originally, the shadow had been hiding in the corner where the light of the flashlights and lamp could not reach, but the sudden burst of brightness completely exposed him. Roderick seemed to be afraid of this light. He used his arms to shield his eyes, and his body doubled over as the man hissed. Feng Bujue held the lamp and stepped fearlessly toward the spirit. He asked in a calm tone, Mr. Usher, do you mind telling us how we can leave this place? Don't come any closer, Roderick grumbled. Or else. When he started the sentence, he sounded gentle, even kind, but once he reached the second half of the sentence, he removed his hands from his face to reveal a face that was definitely inhuman, and he roared like a wild beast, you will pay. Feng Bujue did not react at all even though he was just standing 1 meter away from the spirit. The people behind him were shocked to different degrees by Roderick's sudden change. How exactly do you plan to make me pay? Control the chair to hit the back of my head. Feng Bujue knew that the man was a spirit who could not attack him directly and only harass him by controlling the objects in the house. He was perhaps that lucky because, at that moment, a chair really did float up and fly at Feng Bujue's back. This time, Long Aoman was the closest. With a lunge, he reached out and blocked the attack with Ultron's fragment. There are 5 people here, but you seem particularly interested in me. Feng Bujue's tone was pointed. Where is Madeline's body? Did you place her next to you? Ah! Roderick wailed, and the objects in the room that were not glued to a surface like knives, plates, and candelabers all floated into the air. Feng Bujue wasted no time to grab slowing sands from his inventory, and he smashed it against the ground. The item was able to slow monsters within 50 meters by half and could not affect the movement speed of inanimate objects even if they were in the area of effect. However, Roderick's telekinesis seemed to have affected as well, and all the floating items cluttered to the ground. The items controlled by the ghost were like a bike with a person on it. If the force, i.e. the person, stopped pedaling, the bicycle would not slow down but would tip over. Feng Bujue raised the lamp and aimed his flashlight at Roderick. Since the spirit could not hurt them directly, the reverse was true as well. All he could do was influence it with the light that it seemed to fear so much. An incomprehensible groan escaped from Roderick's lips, and he slowly turned around. He attempted to shield the light with his arms and escape, but he was too slow. This scenario's difficulty is not that high, it seems. As long as you have a powerful source of light, are careful when exploring the house, and do not get influenced by illusions, there is no need to worry about life points at all, Feng Bujue said. This should be a scenario mainly designed to challenge one's courage, not fighting ability. He held the lamp and walked into Roderick's body. The light turned the spirit lighter and lighter, but he could not completely vanquish it. 1 minute soon passed, and Roderick retreated into the wall. Feng Bujue shrugged with some disappointment as he returned to the table and put the lamp down. Let us rearrange our thoughts. Feng Bujue grabbed a wooden chair and sat down. After Brother Invincible died, the transferred plot item should be around here, we need to go look. Laughing Soul surrendered the item and said, this is it, but the information inside is limited. The summary is that, the writer who was the owner of this house is suffering from an illness, and through the letter, he asked his friend to come visit him. May I take a look at that? Feng Bujue asked. Of course. Laughing Soul passed him the letter and added, if you intend to find some hidden message from the letter, you can save your time, it is just a normal letter. She had glanced at it earlier, but that was enough for her to tell that the letter was just a normal plot item. Feng Bujue read the letter for a whole minute and said, players who have read the novel might guess they're inside the House of Usher from this letter, and those who haven't will still get a brief idea of the setting. He handed the letter back. This item cannot be brought out of the scenario, so it does look like it is something to help explain the main plot and is not going to help us push the progress forward. Then please help explain our current situation to us. You seem to know the story very well, and the spirit earlier was obviously focusing his attacks on you even though I am the one with the plot item, Laughing Soul said. There has to be a reason behind that as well, right? Chapter 42, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 9. Chapter 42, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 9. Feng Bujue summarized the plot of the short story and described his experience in the cellar and the hidden quest that he had accepted. Then, the group could see the quest that he accepted in their quest tab, but they could only see it. Even if the quest was completed, only Feng Bujue would get the reward. When he was halfway though, the lamp on the table dimmed because the period of his skill's effectiveness was over. However, Passing Rain and Laughing Soul did not interrupt him and allowed him to continue. After Feng Bujue relayed everything he knew, he concluded it. So, based on my analysis, the plot of this scenario should be as follows. The family that stayed here suffered from Huntington's disease, and the house itself seems to be cursed by some kind of supernatural force. Roderick, who adores his little sister, had already fallen into the clutches of madness, and that was why he buried Madeline even though she was still alive, and then he was tormented by what he had done, causing his mind to collapse. On the night the story should have ended, the sister returned to the house using the mysterious force that resides inside the house, scaring her older brother to his death before finally perishing. Madeline's soul and her dead body should both be trapped by Roderick in this house, and the house itself has a strong hostility toward us living organisms. If we look at it from the perspective of a game, the main quest will be to find out this house's operating rules or weakness and then escape. Naturally, we can ignore the side quest, which I believe is to make us explore the map. If we go to more rooms and expand our search, we'll naturally be able to find all 6 stanzas to the Haunted Palace. The hidden quest of rescuing the siblings' souls, I believe, is the system's way of providing an epilogue to the original story, one that we can ignore if we want to. After hearing his explanation, Passing Rain was the first to respond. It's fine, we can cooperate with you to complete the hidden quest. Feng Bujue had just clarified the situation. It was not hard to clear the scenario, and completing the side quest and hidden quest was a choice. He was about to ask Passing Rain and Laughing Soul to see if they would be willing to help complete the side and hidden quests, but to his surprise, they volunteered their help before he had the chance to ask. Then, I shall thank you, Feng Bujue said. Passing Rain did not reply this time. The girl really did not seem like she liked to chat. Laughing Soul politely replied, "You're welcome. It was our original plan to complete the side quest anyway. With regards to the hidden quest, it's definitely not going to be easy, but you can count on our help." Feng Bujue stood up and said, "Then now we shall go back to our earlier question. Why are we gathered here together? Didn't you say the house will change?" Xiao Tan instantly replied. "Only by changing a few corridors and connecting the spaces, we were naturally led to this place. You're describing how we get to this place, not why," Long Am encountered. Laughing Soul licked her lips and suggested, "There are only a few factors that might trigger something like this. For instance, we've reached a time limit, a key item has been discovered, or the exploration of the map has reached its peak," Feng Bujue continued. "What do you mean?" Xiao Tan asked. "You know betrayal at the house on the hill, right?" Feng Bujue asked. "You mean the board game?" "Yes, that's the one. What happens after the map square for one of the levels is all used up?" Feng Bujue inquired. "Then, the map for that level." Wang Tanzi seemed to realize the problem already. "Will be unable to expand anymore. Based on the current situation, it appears the first floor has been fully explored. Further exploration will only lead us back to where we came from," Feng Bujue said. "That's why we're gathered in this room. This dining room is technically the only map square that has not been explored. Then, shall we go up to the second floor next?" Long Aoman asked. "That is where Invincible Champion died mysteriously. There are 3 stanzas of the Haunted Palace on the first floor, another stanza hidden in the cellar, so naturally, the remaining 2 stanzas will be on the second floor. To complete the side quest, we have to go up," Feng Bujue replied. "Also, we've fully explored the first floor, and the main quest hasn't been updated, so, be it for the main quest, side quest, or hidden quest, it is necessary for us to go upstairs if we want to complete it. As the final part of the scenario, the difficulty upstairs," Laughing Soul added, "or rather, the power of the curse will be more intense upstairs. The traps will be more dangerous, and the illusion and scare factor will be more intense. I believe that is how Invincible Champion met his end. He was alone and had no help." After hearing that, Xiao Tan told Feng Bujue, "Brother Ju, hear that? Splitting up would have led to one's death. Brother Invincible died simply because he was not invincible enough." Feng Bujue moved his eyes away and made an expression that said, "Tonight's wind sure is howling noisily." 10 minutes later, the 5 walked through several corridors before locating the stairs that led to the second floor. The wooden stairs smelled of mildew, and they creaked noisily, supporting their weight. Xiao Tan even scared himself by accidentally snapping a part of the banister from gripping it too tightly. When they reached the second floor, Long Aoman once again took up the role of the scout. His new title, Team Defender, rewarded him with the passive skill, Team Defense. His defense would rise 10% with each team member that was next to him. Even though the offense, defense, and life points in Thriller Paradise did not have a numeral representation, it did not affect the calculation in the background. To put it simply, Brother Long's defense was 40% higher than if he was alone. If he came across that zombie now, he would not be knocked out with one hit. Feng Bujue and Wang Tanzi followed behind Long Aman, and behind them, Laughing Soul and Passing Rain took up the rear. After they had been walking for a while, Laughing Soul suddenly tapped Wang Tanzi on his shoulder. Due to the latter's taut nerves, he was scared out of his soul by the girl's sudden motion. He almost screamed. Brother Xiaotan. What's up? I have something to discuss with you. Are you up for a trade? Which item do you want to trade? Wang Tanzi asked. What kind of items do you have? Laughing Soul asked with a smile. As Xiaotan moved forward, he gave the girl a list of his inventory. I have a kitchen knife, a baseball bat, a vial of slowing. Feng Bujue, who was walking ahead of him, shook his head, and everything that he wanted to say morphed into a sigh in his heart. This idiot. Laughing Soul chuckled, tickled by Xiaotan's antics. She quickly interrupted him. That's enough. Do you really want to tell me everything? Wang Tanzi was baffled. Huh? Of course, you want to make a trade, right? So, I need to tell you what I have. Even Long Aman rolled his eyes and mocked under his breath, this child sure is a genius. Don't bully a child, Passing Rain added coldly. Laughing Soul giggled and then told Xiaotan, I'm sorry, I was kidding with you. I really didn't expect you to tell me everything. Wang Tanzi was still hung up over the earlier insult. I'm not a child. I'm 24 already. Feng Bujue finally lost it. He turned around and glared at Xiaotan. I've realized, as you grow older, your intelligence seems to grow the other way. Huh? Xiaotan was confused. Laughing Soul pulled on his shirt. All right, I'm being serious this time. She handed him the miner's hat and said, I want to use this to trade for your flashlight. Xiaotan looked at its attributes. The item was a piece of armor, one that came with a lighting tool. Item name, miner's hat. Item type, armor. Quality, normal. Defense points, medium. Element, none. Special effect, comes with a light but runs on battery. Equip requirement, General Ability Mastery F or Workmanship Mastery F. Remark, safe and reliable armor. The small lamp attached to it is very useful. So? I see that you don't have any headgear, so it should be a beneficial trade for you to exchange your flashlight for this, Laughing Soul said. Xiaotan looked at it. Then, isn't that a clear loss for you? I don't like the yellow color. Plus, a girl wearing this looks rather dumb. She smiled slyly. But I think it will look quite good on you. There's no need. I actually already have headgear, Xiaotan replied as he took out a new flashlight from his backpack. At the shopping complex, Feng Bujue had suggested that everyone take 2 flashlights, and Xiaotan had been keeping the second one in his backpack. He handed it to Laughing Soul and said, I have 2, so I can just give you 1. Laughing Soul widened her eyes and stared at Xiaotan for 3 seconds. Hey, if you didn't tell me this, you'd be able to get some equipment for free. Don't you know that? Nah, I'd rather not look dumb. You can keep it for yourself. Xiaotan smiled. When she heard that, Laughing Soul suddenly understood why they said that the scariest person was the innocent and kind person who was pushed too far. She accepted the flashlight and put the miner's hat back in her inventory. She grumbled with conflicted emotions, thank you. But her face did not look happy at all. Serves you right, Passing Rain added. Something's wrong. Long Aman suddenly stopped. Haven't we passed this corridor already? Since arriving on this floor, we've been walking down corridors that look the same as each other, Feng Bujue said. We took 1 left turn and 2 right turns, and the length of each corridor is different, so it doesn't seem like we're walking in circles. Have we fallen for an illusion or Long Amin left the sentence hanging. He wanted to hear Feng Bujue's opinion. It should be an illusion. Passing Rain chimed in from the back of the team. She was standing before a large mirror and saw her reflection in it. Her body was normal, and there was no change to her outfit or equipment. The only difference was that her intestines were exposed. The next second, the whole corridor was filled with mirrors. This change was sudden, and there was no discernible sign of the space twisting. Feng Bujue turned to the nearest mirror and he stood before it. Not bad. It's even clearer than a CT scan. He walked closer to observe. Look, you can even see the details of corridors in the cross-section of the intestines. This is quite amusing. Chapter 43, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 10. Chapter 43, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 10. Brother Feng, aren't you too calm? Even Long Amin felt rather unsettled seeing this. However, Xiao Tan was comparatively calmer this time because he was used to dealing with human organs. Laughing Soul did not make much of a reaction. Her brows tightened, thinking how disgusting it was, while Passing Rain's unaffectedness could rival that of Feng Bujue. If we assume that Brother Invincible ran into something similar on the second floor earlier, Feng Bujue said, given that he was alone, walking through the seemingly identical corridors and the reflections in the mirror, suggesting that he was trapped inside his own intestine, how would he react? Run. Passing Rain's answers were always so succinct. Yes. Feng Bujue nodded. So, we cannot do the same. We have to slow down. He died from running around in panic. Long Amin thought about it and said, then, does this mean the corridors are trapped? Like hard to discern metal lines hanging in midair. But we've been walking through the corridors, Xiao Tan argued. Why didn't we run into any traps? Have the mirrors always been around? Feng Bujue interrupted. The scene around us could change at any moment, so they are meaningless. He used his fingers to knock on the wall by his side. The wall might look to be a wall, but it could be a door, a window, or even emptiness. He retrieved the baseball bat from his backpack. From now on, we cannot rely on things that we see. Feng Bujue walked to stand before Long Amin. I will lead us forward while closing my eyes. He treated the baseball bat as a walking stick. You don't need to close your eyes, just follow behind me. Even if I look like I am running into a wall, or stepping on air, there's no need to call me out on it. Just make sure to follow behind me. I will try my best to focus and move as fast as I can, so I'll leave the part for memorizing the route to the rest of you. You don't need to memorize the whole journey, just remember the turns that we take. If I take the same turn 3 consecutive times, then please say something to stop me. By the way, Brother Ju, what is it that you do in real life? Laughing Soul could not help but ask the same question that Long Amin had asked before. A great scribe, Feng Bujue answered shamelessly. Passing Rain's expression shifted slightly, and she asked, so, a novelist. Wow, you're amazing, you can guess that from his foolish answer. Xiao Tan gasped. Feng Bujue was also surprised, and he thought to himself, this is not the first time she has seen through me. What's going on? Eh? Then does that mean you're famous? Laughing Soul asked. I guess I'm as famous as some C-list actors, Feng Bujue answered. Laughing Soul was startled. She immediately opened the team tab to look at his IGN, and she thought, Feng Bujue? Feng Bujue? No way. He's that Bujue? He used the same name for his IGN and pen name. Cousin. He's your. Laughing Soul turned around to whisper something to Passing Rain. I know. Passing Rain cut her off and raised her voice to say, now is not the time to chat. Please lead the way, great scribe. Feng Bujue had not realized anything. He shrugged and turned around, closed his eyes, and extended the baseball bat forward. He started to move while bending over. The posture was uncomfortable, but he had no choice. The bat was around 1 meter long, and while a normal walking stick for the blind would reach one's chest, the bat reached just above his waist. The speed slowed down compared to before, but for a blind leader, this was relatively fast. Everything was normal until they reached the first corner. The wall at the end of the corridor was real. Feng Bujue touched the wall before taking a left turn. The strange thing was, he turned not to face the corridor to the left, but slightly slanted. The four with their eyes open followed him and discovered something shocking. Feng Bujue's body slowly embedded into the wall on their right. They did not say anything and followed the man, walking into the wall that was supposed to block their way. Human eyes were the most easily tricked, but the human body came with its own sense of balance, and it was powerful enough to walk in a straight line even without sight. The corridors looked like they were perpendicular to each other, but they were actually slanted. Feng Bujue moved forward with his eyes closed. And when he reached the end, he turned 90 degrees, and thus, his direction deviated from the direction of the corridors. With him leading the way, the group moved through walls. The ground underneath their feet, stairs, and the decorations next to them could not be trusted. The second floor of this building was a strange space, and the things in their eyes, be it the doors, windows, walls, or even a large hole on the ground, could be real or fake. From a certain perspective, it was more complicated than a maze. The straight corridor could be curved, and a wall might be the spot that they needed to pass through. Only by closing their eyes could they move in a straight line, or else if they took reference from the images around them, they would definitely be confused. This strange journey continued for a whole 30 minutes, and they did not run into any traps or any attacks from the spirit. It was as if the spirits themselves did not dare venture into this space. Other than the environment that was used to disorient the players, many X-ray mirrors showed up along the way. There were many strange pictures meant to make players dizzy showing up on the wall as well. The more one remained on this path, the more confused and isolated one would feel. If a player attempted the scenario solo, and moved forward with their eyes open, there was still a chance for clearing the scenario, but that person had to have strong willpower. The long silence lowered the morale, but thankfully, it was soon over. Feng Bujue arrived at a door, a real door with real walls on both of its sides. This was apparently the end of the corridors filled with illusions. Actually, the journey would have taken 15 minutes at most if it was a normal corridor, but they had taken about 30 minutes to complete it. By then, Feng Bujue was exhausted. It did not show on his stamina points, because it was a mental exhaustion. He was not blind and had not received such training, so walking for such a long time with eyes closed was not that easy. To any readers interested, try replicating his experience. Close your eyes and wander around your house, a place that you're familiar with, and you'll understand its difficulty. By the way, be careful. We've arrived, it seems, Long Aman, who was second from the front, announced. Feng Bujue opened his eyes and took some time to get used to the small light. Then, he saw the end, a door that seemed to be constructed out of flesh and blood. On the flesh door, there were intertwining blood vessels, stitching out a stanza for the haunted palace. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, and sparkling evermore a troop of echoes, whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. This is the fourth stanza. This means, we're only missing the sixth stanza, Feng Bujue said as he went to grab the handle that was made from bone. Brother Feng, I think I should go first, Long Aman suggested. It's fine. Feng Bujue had already put the bat away, and he did not even wear the eyes of hostility. Earlier in the dining room, when Roderick controlled the chandelier, the eye had been unable to sense him because he was hiding in the dark. Later, when he controlled the chair, Feng Bujue had sensed through the eye that Roderick's target was the wooden chair. So, for an enemy that relied on indirect attacks, the eye was useless. The door opened to reveal a medium-sized room. The room had no windows and no lamps, only walls that were made from flesh and a bone-constructed floor. The ceiling dangled with human hair, and the hair was weaved together with a strange method to form the roof. Other than the door, there was no exit. Hanging from a bone beam in the middle of the room were two dead bodies. One male and one female. They were bound by something that looked like intestines. The man was wearing a classic Western suit, and the woman was in a white dress. Neither body showed signs of decay, although their skin was whiter than a living human should be. Their eyes were closed, and death radiated from them. Chapter 44, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 11. Chapter 44, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 11. Feng Bujue took a look around the room and gasped as if on instinct. Could this be SCP-002? What is that? Long Aman asked. Ah! Wang Tanzi suddenly screamed. Please don't ask him that. He won't stop explaining it to you for hours. Feng Bujue ignored him and answered, it is a sci-fi collection created by a group of sci-fi lovers on the internet. Wait, you concluded it in one sentence. Wang Tanzi felt betrayed. But you used 3 hours to explain the thing to me way back then. That's because you are too easily fooled. I wanted to see how long I was able to lie to you, Feng Bujue said with a smile as he walked into the strange room. The four followed, none of them wanted to stay in the changing corridor. I guess we can assume that this place is the source of the curse residing at the house of Usher. Feng Bujue walked toward the two bodies. The whole room is made from the flesh or soul of the owners of the Usher family. In that case, Roderick and Madeline's bodies will eventually be absorbed by the room. He grabbed Madeline's legs and tried to pull her down, but the intestines were tight, and brute force was not going to work. Feng Bujue grabbed the knife from his inventory and held it in his mouth. From the looks of it, he planned to climb up the body and cut through the intestine that hung the woman from the beam. Let me. Passing Rain put her hand on Feng Bujue's shoulder to stop him. Feng Bujue turned to look at her, and she held his gaze. Passing Rain did not say anything, she only used her finger to point at Feng Bujue and then at the ground. Okay. Feng Bujue understood her. He bent down on one knee and exposed his back to the girl. Passing Rain stepped onto his shoulders with her sword out. She leaped upward easily, and the blade arced through the air. The two intestines hanging the bodies snapped, and the two bodies fell to the ground. After Passing Rain landed on the ground, she told Feng Bujue, "Thank you." You're welcome." Feng Bujue thought that it should be him thanking her. Right then, Roderick's spirit reappeared. He materialized just outside the door, standing behind Laughing Soul. "You will never change anything," Roderick said. His sudden appearance spooked Laughing Soul. She whipped her body around and aimed her flashlight at the door, but there was already nothing there. However, Roderick's body on the ground suddenly started to move. The intestine binding him loosened. When everyone's attention was turned on the door, the spirit controlled his own body to stand up from the ground to attack Feng Bujue. Feng Bujue was on high alert. Even though his eyes were turned to the door, when he heard the movement from behind him, he reacted immediately. He turned around, brandishing the knife, and the blade ran into Roderick's arm. Even though the dead body had regained its mobility, it was ultimately a creature of flesh. Feng Bujue's knife cut into Roderick's right arm, but it was lodged inside the bone and did not make a clean cut. Long Aman's reaction was quick as well. Seeing this, he rammed forward with the shield raised. He aimed it at Roderick's temple. Ultron's fragment was ultimately elite equipment. Combined with Long Amon's impressive physique, that slash practically took off Roderick's scalp. The brain inside the skull was dark gray, and it looked like minced tofu, radiating an awful stench. Feng Bujue saw this and quickly used his free hand to grab the wrench and stab it multiple times at the body's chin. From the way he acted, it felt as if he did not do this, he would lose out on his chance to attack the man's head. Passing Rain realized that the two could handle this, so she did not volunteer her help. After some time, it was Feng Bujue alone who was attacking the body. With the knife in one hand and the wrench in another, he rained attacks on the body that had collapsed to the ground. It was not until Roderick's body was a messy splatter and the skull was cracked into smithereens that the man stopped and sighed. Now he shouldn't be able to get up. This time, even Xiao Tan, who was used to operating on dead bodies, was feeling sorry. With his hand over his mouth, he said, in his state, you could even use him as dumpling filling. How do you expect him to come back to life? Roderick's body was destroyed, and his spirit reappeared in the corner of the room. It's useless. My soul and body will eventually become a part of the house. It is no different, for all of you. Once he finished, the door closed, and the flesh on the wall started to move. Mouths opened on the wall, and they gnashed their sharp teeth. They were large enough to tear one's face off. Hey! Brother Ju, what do we do now? Wang Tanzi took out his knife, but he did not know what to attack. Was he supposed to cut at the fleshy wall? Laughing Soul looked at the mouths on the wall with disgust. If something like a tongue rolls out from the wall, I'm going to surrender. Since we're eventually going to be consumed, why did you waste your energy to possess your dead body to attack me? Feng Bujue grumbled as he aimed the flashlight at Roderick's spirit, but the latter did not seem to fear the light anymore. Oh! You aren't afraid of light in this room? Feng Bujue said as he walked to Madeline's body and got down to the floor. Roderick's face was colored with fear. What are you doing? Madeline's soul refuses to be a part of the house. Her spirit temporarily appeared inside the cellar to ask me for help, Feng Bujue explained. I've given it some thought. The let me out that she said probably doesn't refer to rescuing her from the coffin because she had already escaped from there when she was alive. After getting a confirmation from Roderick's reaction, he stood up again and smiled. Madeline wants me to bring her body out of this room to prevent herself from being assimilated into the house like you. Roderick's face turned scarier, and the demon's face had completely taken over any semblance of man. Look around you, how do you expect to get her out of here? Are the images around me real? Feng Bujue replied. If the house can consume people so fast, then why are your two bodies so perfectly preserved? He walked confidently to the wall and reached out to touch the gaping maw. The rest did not say anything to stop him. Feng Bujue's tone and actions made people believe in him. Roderick could only glare at him and did nothing. Feng Bujue's arm phased through the flesh, and he felt a normal wooden wall underneath his touch. I thought so. The illusion has covered up this room's actual look. Then, now I only need to find. He suddenly paused. Well, I'm dumb, aren't I? Where else could it be? Feng Bujue walked toward the corner where Roderick was. The latter was filled with panic and howled angrily. Feng Bujue ignored this half-invisible spirit and walked through him and used his hand to explore the wall behind Roderick. Several seconds later, Feng Bujue put his hands on the same height as his waist, pushing forward. He grunted as he pulled upward, opening a window. Current quest changed. Main quest updated. Inside the quest tab, the main quest Explore the house to find a way to escape it had a tick, and a new quest had appeared. Destroy the ritual and escape from the house. The red glow of the blood moon shot in through the window. When Roderick was caught in the red light, he disappeared completely. At the same time, the red light dispersed the illusion, returning the room to its original appearance. It was an attic, made from bricks and wood. There was no flesh, bones, or hair. The intestines that were used to hang the bodies were actually two thick ropes. The room was empty except for a magic circle that carved in the middle of the ground. This was probably something randomly generated by the game. By then, the only thing remotely scary in the room were the dead bodies that Feng Bujue had minced. The other four sighed in relief. Wang Tanzi wiped the cold sweat away. That was scary. Thankfully, though, it turns out the house itself cannot harm anyone. Feng Bujue walked to the magic circle and used the knife to add more random cuts to it. This room seems to be the head of the house. After their demise, the members of the usher house would be sent here and fed to the house like food. He glanced at the meat next to him. Their bodies disappear while their souls are consumed by the house, morphing into those strange things. Perhaps the twisted statues and paintings we saw along the way are a reflection of the family members. After he ruined the magic circle, he stood up while putting the knife away. Furthermore, when I came in and saw the two bodies, I was slightly confused. Madeline carved in the coffin, he knows. Maybe the he in question isn't pointing at Roderick. What? Do you think she's talking about the story's main character? Long Aman asked. No, the main character is obviously innocent, Feng Bujue replied. Other than the two owners, there are other characters in the House of Usher. About this, the book only has one or two descriptions. I remember one of them was a quiet male servant who slunk around the house, and the other was a cunning family doctor who panicked after the main character showed up. You mean, the family members are possibly victims as well? Laughing Soul asked. Feng Bujue looked around like he was searching for something, and he answered absent-mindedly. Perhaps the House of Usher was targeted by some strange cult and became their experiment, no, sacrifice. After their death, they were sacrificed to this house, and who knows what is up with the house itself. Perhaps the source of the curse on the house is from some kind of demon. Up there, Passing Rain suddenly said. Feng Bujue immediately titled his head upward and saw the last stanza of the haunted palace on the slanted roof. And travelers, now, within that valley. Through the red-litten windows see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody. While, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door, a hideous throng rush out forever, and laugh but smile no more. Side quest completed, the system audio said. Feng Bujue let out a long sigh. All right, now that the magic circle is ruined, the house should return to normal. We should be able to find the exit soon. Why don't we just jump from this window? It's the perfect exit, no? Wang Tanzi asked. Then go ahead and jump. Feng Bujue picked up Madeline's body and walked to the door. Good luck to you. Chapter 45, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 12. Chapter 45, The Mountain Pool and the Haunted Mansion 12. The process of leaving the house was surprisingly successful. After the magic circle lost its effect, the House of Usher turned back into a normal house. On the way back, they managed to see the obvious changes. One of them was the paintings hanging on the wall. They all changed into scribbles like the paintings of children. The illusory space was naturally neutralized, and the five soon found themselves back at the entrance in the living room. This time, Long Aman kicked the door open, and a cold draft swept into the room. However, even if the outside was running a blizzard, the five refused to stay in the house any longer. The group exited through the front door, and the system said, Current quest completed. Main quest completed. Feng Bujue, who was carrying Madeline Usher's body, also heard, Hidden quest completed. So, it only wants me to carry her out of the house, Feng Bujue said as he placed the body on the ground. After being left there for a while, the dead body started to decay with impossible speed. It decomposed into a pile of bones, and the bones soon turned to dust. A barely noticeable wisp of energy danced on the wind before dissolving in the reddening sky. You have completed the scenario. You'll be automatically teleported out of the scenario in 60 seconds. Good game, guys, Laughing Soul said with a smile. Indeed, that was quite enjoyable, Feng Bujue added. Long Aoman stretched lazily and sighed. Phew. This scenario sure is something else, it's filled with scary things. This time, my rating is going to suck, I just know it. Brother Long, you still have hopes for the rating? I get trembled with fright or scared witless with fear practically every time. My personal best was seized by panic, and even then, I only got it once. Xiao Tan said. Goodbye. Passing Rain dropped a casual goodbye and tapped Laughing Soul on her shoulder, signaling her meaning to depart. Then she disappeared before the group's eyes. Laughing Soul waved at the three of them. Bye-bye. Then she looked at Xiao Tan and grumbled with some dissatisfaction, by the way, thank you for your flashlight. Before Xiao Tan could answer, she teleported away in the white light. Feng Bujue then said, let's go as well then. After calculating the reward, we'll queue for the next scenario. Brother Feng, Long Aoman said, I'm going to call it a night for now. I logged on at 11:40 p.m. Before you came online, I played about 10 hours, and this scenario took more than 3 hours. If I continue any longer, there'll be a raging headache for me to endure tomorrow. Okay then, Feng Bujue replied. See you next time, Brother Long. Feng Bujue and Wang Tanzi bade Brother Long farewell, and the three left the scenario. The autumnal wind swept past this lonely house next to a pond in the mountain. This world was as oppressive and as silent as ever. The blood moon sunk below the horizon. At the twilight moment before the advent of dawn, the entrance of the House of Usher was once again flung shut by some mysterious power. Long Aoman glanced at the review screen before logging off. After all, the reward could be gained before he started the next scenario, so it was fine leaving them in the login lobby. After he logged off, his name became grayed out in the team tab. Before Feng Bujue could check out the rating review, he noticed 2 friend requests. He clicked them open, and unsurprisingly, they came from Passing Rain and Laughing Soul. At the same time, Wang Tanzi exclaimed excitedly in team chat, Brother Ju. I know, they've added you as friends, Feng Bujue said directly. How did you know? Xiao Tan asked. Oh, wait, they would have added you as well. You are a simple man to read, Feng Bujue said. Plus, why are you acting so excited? Aren't you excited having a friend request from beautiful ladies? Wang Tanzi asked in a righteous tone. At the very least, you're a veritable bachelor in real life. How can you be so superficial? Feng Bujue asked. Furthermore, they could be ugly betties in real life, the game comes with the function to edit one's looks. Brother Ju, if you keep treating others that way, you'll end up alone. There are many other questions in my life than to consider whether I'll end up alone or not, Feng Bujue countered. Furthermore, I made the conscious decision of always assuming the worst when I was 10, that's the only way to face every problem calmly. He did sound calm when he said that. See, when my parents passed away, and when I found out I suffer from an incurable disease, how calm I was. All right, fine. Xiao Tan's lips twitched, he was speechless. Then again, that female warrior sure is impressive. Just from fighting capability alone, from what she's shown, I can say confidently that she is stronger than Brother Long, Feng Bujue said as he accepted the friend requests from the 2 ladies. Currently, we've run into only a small handful of players, but so far, she's the strongest of all that we've met. Shall we ask them to join us for the next game? Wang Tanzi asked. Of course not. I just said in the previous sentence that we need to meet more players, and you're already coming up with a suggestion to counteract that. Oh, right. Wang Tanzi said. If we're a group of 4, at most we'll run into 2 more stranger players, and the least will be none. In any case, I'll need to look at the rating first. When I'm done, I'll call you. You can go and rest for now, Feng Bujue said. Understood, Wang Tanzi replied. I have to look at that as well. At the same time, Passing Rain was in her login lobby. She was communicating with Laughing Soul. Cousin, it shows that they've accepted my friend request, Laughing Soul said. That brother Long logged off soon after accepting the request. Same, Passing Rain added. Cousin, you've noticed it already, haven't you? Laughing Soul asked. You're talking about that Feng Bujue? Yes, he's that novelist. He has Bujue in his name, and he said that he's not that famous. It befits the characteristic of that Bujue perfectly. Perhaps you're right, but we cannot base anything on an IGN, Passing Rain noted. However, the fact that he referred to himself as a great scribe, that was indeed what Bujue would have done. Plus, when I asked if he was a novelist, it was that rather naive friend of his who confirmed it for me. Then again, we cannot accept that 100% as the truth. But what if it is him? Laughing Soul asked with a wicked giggle. So what if it's him, and why are you laughing like that? Passing Rain asked. Cousin, aren't you his biggest fan? Isn't meeting their idol the biggest dream of every fan? I just enjoy reading his novels, Passing Rain answered. Her tone was level, and it did not sound like an argument. I know nothing about him, so I doubt you can call him my idol. Besides, if it is like what you've said, then there is more the reason for me to not know him. Laughing Soul shook her head and said, In other words, a koga re wari ka ramo2mo2o I gonjio udayo, admiration is the furthest relationship from understanding. You think just speaking in a foreign language won't make me realize you're borrowing the quote from Sosuke Aizen. Passing Rain exposed Laughing Soul. Humph. He's your idol, not mine. In the future, perhaps he will stop talking to you because you've made yourself ugly. Laughing Soul made a funny face at the monitor even though she knew that her cousin would not be able to see it. I just didn't want to stand out so much, but currently, it seems like the plans failed, Passing Rain commented. If you show that you're a good player, you'll still get plenty of friend requests. Unfortunately, you cannot edit your appearance anymore after completing a scenario, or else I would have made myself look worse, to fend off the pervs. In the break room of Regulation Studio, Invincible Champion drank a cup of the coffee, but it felt like he had some deep-seated hatred against the drink. His shift with sleep mode was already over, and he had to rest for an hour before continuing with non-sleep mode. What's wrong? Brother Invincible, did you die in game? A lanky teen who looked around 16 sat down next to him. He was one of the players attached to the studio. His IGN was Sky-Swallowing Phantom Dawn. In the studio, the employees referred to each other with their IGNs as well because their IDs were fixed across all games, kind of like their work reference. For a top gaming studio like Regulation, they normally did not need to worry about other people stealing their IGNs because they would be the first to log into the game when the server first opened. In fact, sometimes, the game company would reserve some accounts for them. Ah, you got that right, but it was my own mistake. I immediately went to queue up for another scenario, and after beating it, I realized the scenario that I died in was cleared and it was done by 3 plebs and 2 female players. I didn't gain any EXP, proving that I barely did anything in that scenario. Then how did they manage to clear it? Phantom Dawn asked. I was just thinking about it, Invincible Champion said. I believe I was scammed by an experienced player who acted like a newbie. That level 11 player, Feng Bujue, he was probably acting dumb, luring me into thinking he was a dead weight and thus urging me into attempting the scenario alone. Oh. I think I get it now. Initially, you thought other people were an added weight, but in the end, you realize you're the useless one, Phantom Dawn concluded. Hey, whose side are you on? Invincible Champion roared. Fine, fine. I'll stop talking. Phantom Dawn stood up with a smile. I guess I'll go home to sleep then. Why? Is your shift over? Invincible Champion asked. Nah, the team leader told me to leave and gave me a full day's holiday, Phantom Dawn replied. What? A holiday during these few days of closed beta? Invincible Champion's eyes were round. Have you also reached level 20 already? Nah, just 15. Phantom Dawn shrugged. It's like this. I murdered Brother Fearless and his two friends in the killing game mode. They complained to the team leader, saying I'm not cooperating with them to help them raise their mastery level, he said with a smile. Eyes. The adults these days, they are so hard to work with. Chapter 46 Intermission 9. Chapter 46 Intermission 9. The scenario has been completed, calculating the reward. Obtained EXP, 1650, game coins, 16,500. Obtained equipment, none. Completed/accepted quests, 2/2. Completed special/hidden quests, 2 unlocked world building, none. Time of terror points increase, 0 highest terror points, 0%. Average terror points, 0%. Your terror rating is, embodiment of valor. Extra reward obtained, can be selected later. Obtained skill points, 90. Additional rewards from skill points gained, EXP, 900, game coins, 9,000. Scenario cleared reward, skill card X1. Side quest cleared reward, additional EXP, 1,000. Hidden quest cleared reward, a random excellent quality item. Calculation complete. Please continue. Feng Bujue looked through the rating review. His level did not rise, still level 11, but his EXP gauge had reached 4,900/11,000, and he had 77,000 game coins. His earlier worry of raising his level too quickly was unfounded. In reality, his speed of leveling was much lower compared to professional players. The EXP gained this time was average at best. The additional EXP and game coins given were calculated via the skill points gained. More specifically, when playing team mode, it was a multiplier of the skill points gained in terms of 10 times or 100 times, while for solo mode, it would be a multiplier of either 1 time or 10 times, and the difference was huge. The other factor to influence the EXP gained was the gaming time. For example, for this scenario, it was about 1 hour longer than the previous scenario, so even though the difficulty was not high, scenarios that did not rely on fighting were not considered difficult to Feng Bujue. The base EXP gained at the rating review was higher than the previous scenario. That EXP was not enough for Feng Bujue to rise in terms of level. Without unlocking the world building, he had to go through at least 4 to 5 teamed scenarios of such difficulty before he could level up. Therefore, life was not that easy for those studios' workers. Starting from the beginning of the closed beta, 8 a.m. on April 4 to midnight of April 6, there were about 40 hours in real life. Separating the hours into 2 connectivity methods and minus the necessary break time, it meant that they had fought for at least 5 days in game before they reached the maximum level. The time Feng Bujue spent in the virtual world totaled up to less than 10 hours. Compared to professional players, he was indeed just starting out. This time, I guess I'd better choose the EXP reward, Feng Bujue grumbled. Xiao Tan will eventually lag around 1 or 2 levels behind me, but after the open beta begins, he can buy some EXP boosts, and he'll take no time to catch up. Now that I think about it, even though the speed of leveling slows down after level 11, but at least during the closed beta period, the difference of 5 levels is not that much. The difference of a level 10 and level 15 player is a 500 stamina points difference. Good equipment can temporarily improve one's power level, but raising one's mastery level and gaining skill is the real long-term solution. Just like the image of passing rain flying through the sky brandishing her sword appeared in his mind. Her level is not that much higher than mine, but that display of her skill, she should at least have a D in fighting. Thinking about that, Feng Bujue opened the menu to look at his mastery. After the scenario, his current status was, General Ability E, Workmanship E, Sleuthing E, Fighting E, Marksmanship F. Only Medic was not unlocked. To conclude, he had raised 4 masteries other than marksmanship to level E. Level E meant a beginner's level, and it gave a 40% success rate of activating the respective school's skills. So far, other than Medic, which Feng Bujue had no connection with at all, the man dabbled briefly in all the other masteries, but unfortunately, he was not focused on any of them. This placed a giant question mark on his fighting ability. Other than that, his title Cold-Blooded Skullcracker had not changed, so his special power was still brain concussion. After going through the system clear list, he walked out of the elevator. This time, there were 3 glass tubes in the metallic room. They were the rewards from clearing the scenario, from a good terror rating, and the random item from completing the hidden quest. He walked to the terror rating reward first, and the system said, please select your additional reward. 1. A randomized piece of equipment that is matching your level. 2. 50,000 game coins, max. 3. 4,400 EXP. Looks like after level 10, whenever you gain a good terror rating, the choice for game coins will be fixed at 50,000, Feng Bujue commented. During the period when game coins were useless, the exchange rate of game coins and real-life currency was an unknown, so Feng Bujue temporarily would not consider that reward. This time, he made the decision to choose the EXP. After gaining the amount that would be 40% of his EXP gauge, Feng Bujue's EXP shot up to 9,300/11,000. After clearing another scenario, he should level up to level 12. Then, he walked to the glass tube representing the reward for clearing the scenario and picked out the randomized skill card. Item name, below the belt shin kick. Skill card element, active skill, 3 times use. Skill type, fighting. Effect, ignoring mastery level, there is a 100% of toppling monster that can be toppled over and angering said monster to target you. Consumption, 100 stamina points. Learning requirement, fighting mastery F or level 10. Remark, you're going to be disqualified if you use this in a professional match. What is this? Feng Bujue studied the skill card for some time. The item name and remark aside, the effect of the skill was quite strong. Feng Bujue thought about it before equipping it. This kind of prank type skill did not seem like the kind that would sell later, and it was not the kind that would make a great gift either. After equipping the skill, at least he had an active skill that he could use during combat. Then, Feng Bujue walked to the last glass tube, hoping that the system would finally give him something good. But he actually had a prediction in his heart already. During the rating review, the reward said that it was a random excellent quality item, but the clause that is matching your level was conspicuously missing, so there was a high chance that, while the equipment was going to be good, he might not be able to use it. The white light materialized, and an item that looked like a belt appeared. Feng Bujue's first reaction was, This could be Batman's tool belt, but he was wrong. The equipment was even better. Item name, Echo Armor. Item type, Armor. Quality, excellent. Defense points, quite strong. Element, damage mitigation. Special effect, none. Equip requirement, general ability C or workmanship D. Remark, after collecting the whispering from Black Bolt, Dr. Doom used the powerful energy to create this equipment. After activating the belt, the user will obtain invisible armor made from Echo. The armor was powerful, but unfortunately, Feng Bujue could not equip it. However, he still placed it inside his backpack. After all, he already had E for workmanship. If he could raise the mastery to D during the next scenario, then he would fit the requirement. Currently, his inventory space was 7/10, and it contained Mario's wrench, the Eye of Hostility, a kitchen knife, a baseball ball, a flashlight, an M1911A1 pistol, and Echo armor. The jazz shoes were equipped on his feet, so they did not count. The items in the login lobby was the same: a spare flashlight and puzzle card, monkey. After equipping everything, Feng Bujue returned to the elevator and called Wang Tanzi. Xiao Tan handed the team leader position to Feng Bujue. Then the two of them started the queue and entered the second team. Mode for the night. Chapter 47 The Peerless Garlic One. Chapter 47 The Peerless Garlic One. Feng Bujue, Level 11. Wang Tanzi, Level 11. Please select the game mode that your team wants to join. You have selected the team survival mode, normal. Please confirm. Confirming. The team size has been randomized, a team of 6. Your team has joined the team queue. Currently searching for other readied players or teams. Search complete. Team full. Adjusting nerve connectivity. Generating the scenario. Please wait for a moment. Downloading. This time the voice that spoke sounded like a middle-aged man, and he was mumbling through the words. Welcome to Thriller Paradise. Download complete. You are currently playing Team Survival Mode, Normal. A scenario introduction is provided in this mode, and there is a chance for the trigger of side or hidden missions and special world building. Reward for clearing the scenario, double the base EXP gained during rating review. Playing the scenario introduction soon. The game will start right after. Feng Bujue's sight soon was replaced by a CG movie shot from a first-person perspective. The screen showed that he was falling through the sky, but he was not wearing any military equipment. He was still wearing the black, long-sleeved t-shirt and jeans provided by the system. Before his eyes was a blue sky with white clouds, a sunny day. The angle moved downward, and he could discern it was a modern city with many skyscrapers that he was falling into. The system audio arrived following the appearance of the subtitles. You are a member of a rescue team, and you're tasked to find the worker of the company Audiobook, Professor Ashford. But due the plane crash, you and your other 5 teammates lost all heavy artillery and communication devices when you jumped off the plane and were separated in different parts of the city. What the hell is this Audiobook? Is it just a reverse of Umbrella? Feng Bujue looked at the floating subtitle and thought to himself, don't tell me, the name of the city is a reverse of the term Raccoon City. An unknown virus is ravaging through this new Akar city. What the F***ck? It really did happen. This type of extremely dangerous virus is coded as Z, and it has 4 obvious symptoms: a 100% infection chance, 100% lethality, can be transmitted through contact with bodily fluids, cannot be transmitted through air and water. Wouldn't it be a lot more time-saving to call it T-virus? Why the need to come up with a Z-virus? Who is the system trying to trick? All the infected organisms transform into vampiric werewolf zombies. Huh. Feng Bujue was shocked, and a strange amalgamation of different creatures appeared in his mind. This kind of monster's basic abilities and habits are no different from a normal zombie, but at the same time, they possess the specific properties of both werewolf and vampire. To facilitate easier communication, they're also simply known as BW zombies, blood wolf zombies. What? Silver can cause a BW zombie's body to scorch, while the smell of garlic mixed with saliva can ward them off to a certain degree. Their mobility and intelligence are both relatively low, and decapitation or having their brain smashed in will kill them. Doesn't that mean they're weaker than a normal zombie? What exactly is the purpose of such a setting then? BW zombies are extremely averse to sunlight, even though sunlight will not cause direct damage to them. They possess an extremely powerful sense of smell and can pick up sounds and light from a distance away. Their desire for meat has nothing to do with their digestive system. Even if they have lost their chin, intestine, stomach, and all related organs, they will continue to tear their victims into pieces and ingest them. All living organisms will become their target. The introductory CG and explanation this time was quite long. Perhaps they needed some additional time for players to fall through the sky. After the introduction was over, the last screen showed Feng Bujue landing on the roof of a shop right by the merchant street. 1 second later, Feng Bujue's sight overlapped with the characters, and he was officially in the game. He was not wearing anything that resembled a parachute. It looked like it had been removed by the system already. That was fine because it saved him from having to look through it. The main quest triggered announcement came soon after. This time, all 6 players were placed at the different parts of the map before the game started. This was the first time that Feng Bujue had come into something like that. He opened the menu to glance at the content of the main quest. Enter the Audiobook company's main building and find Professor Ashford. Then, he looked at the situation at the group tab. 5 names were shown there: Wang Tanzi, Unparalleled General Pan Feng, 1000 Kills Wasyong, So Hard to Find a Name, and Adobe Sama. Feng Bujue thought to himself, Pan Feng and Wasyong should be from the same team since they're both characters from Romance of Three Kingdoms. From the looks of it, the group is filled with all male players. Suddenly, an incomprehensible groan came from behind Feng Bujue. Feng Bujue turned to look, and he saw a BW zombie shuffling toward him. His body was covered with tufts of fur, except for the arms and face. They were not only furless but extremely pale. The face was that of a human except for the vampire-like fangs in the mouth. The rest was the features of a typical zombie, like some gashing wounds and decaying body parts. The monster moved glacially, or perhaps being exposed to the sunlight caused him to move slower. Plus, he was dumb enough to groan loudly enough to expose his location. Feng Bujue stared at the guy condescendingly. And all the way around the monster. The monster limped slowly to turn its body around. When it faced Feng Bujue once more, it groaned before starting to shuffle toward him. How are you so slow? Feng Bujue did not grab the weapon from his backpack. He was too lazy to deal with this monster. Instead, he strode toward the door that exited the roof. The BW zombie continued to follow him. But the monster's speed was much slower than Feng Bujue's normal walking speed. Feng Bujue opened the door, and beyond it was a staircase that led downward. Even though he had some words about the strength of the monster in this scenario, he still checked out the situation behind the door first. Before entering it. Before leaving, Feng Bujue did not forget to help close the door. He walked down the stairs, and the ground floor was a normal restaurant. The kitchen was across from the bar counter, and the window facing the street was arranged with a row of tables. There were some separate seats by the counter as well. A few tables had leftovers like sandwiches, fries, and eggs. By then, they had become feasts for the flies. Feng Bujue was looking around when he heard another groan. There was a BW zombie behind the counter. Its upper body was leaning against the oven, but its lower body was missing, and the intestines splashed out to the ground. When it saw Feng Bujue approach, it raised its arms toward him and groaned endlessly. To Feng Bujue, it sounded like it was saying, "Come, feed me." Of course, Feng Bujue ignored it. He looked out into the street through the window. There were a few BW zombies wandering the area, but they were all hiding inside the shadow of the surrounding buildings, and they shuffled slowly. This doesn't look dangerous. How about an experiment then? He took out the wrench and broke into the storeroom. 2 minutes later, he came out holding a basket of garlic. Feng Bujue placed the basket on the counter. He took out a clove of garlic, put away the wrench, and pulled out the kitchen knife. He peeled off the skin, picked out a segment, popped it into his mouth, and chewed. Eating in Thriller Paradise mimicked the experience in real life. The taste bud would simulate how the food was supposed to taste, and one would feel full from food consumption. Naturally, though, there was no actual food entering the player's stomach. Both the taste and the filling experience were simulated through the nervous system. The spiciness bloomed on his tongue. Feng Bujue walked around the bar and leaned close to the BW zombie on the ground. The latter quickly put down its arms like it had lost its appetite for Feng Bujue. It looked like the effect of garlic was quite strong. Just for fun, Feng Bujue continued to move forward, stretching out his neck, and with a meter distance between them, he opened his mouth and breathed out toward the monster. The monster used his arms to crawl away, trying to move away from Feng Bujue. Well, isn't this amusing? Feng Bujue looked strangely excited. He had decided to stay in the city until he had gotten his fill of fun. Chapter 48 The Peerless Garlic 2. Chapter 48 The Peerless Garlic 2. Being a professional gamer sounded like an enviable career. After all, one could get both money and fame from just playing games. Who would not want that? In the year 2055, it had indeed become an occupation approved of by society, and the top players in the field had the same amount of influence as famous athletes. The age group for professional players was normally between 14 to 35. Of course, there were younger genius players, but they would not be able to join the ranks due to the age limitation on certain games. Normally, professional gamers could be separated to two types. One was the celebrity gamers while the other would be the normal blue-collar player. Celebrity players would generally choose to retire at around 30 years old. They either became semi-casual players or coaches, generally preparing to enter the administrative or management phase should they be attached to a studio. Some changed their job scope but remained within the field, like becoming a gamecaster, announcer, reviewer, and so on. Those who got rich through their career might even end up as a company boss. Everyone that entered the field hoped to become a celebrity player, but of the many who joined the gauntlet since graduation from secondary school, only a handful would achieve fame, and most would have their dreams broken and find a normal job instead. These people practically used their youth as a bet, and whether it was a win or loss, only they themselves could tell. These non-celebrity players were the blue-collars in the field. They were the central pillar of this industry. Without their support, a studio could not operate normally, and the celebrity players also needed the support of these people. The most unavoidable thing in this business was the cruel competition. For any famous game, there had to be an element of competition. If the game did not provide a way for two or more groups of players to decide who was better, the game would not have been able to attract the attention of any studios, and the number of players overall would be limited. For MMORPGs, it was fine even if it was not direct PvP content. Even for pure PvE games, there were many other ways to settle a score, like collecting the best equipment or killing the hardest boss. Thus, such was the simplest way for a professional gamer to prove their value. It could be summed up in a simple word: win. Unfortunately, there was no permanent victor in the world, No one could keep on winning. Growing older, the advent of new players, uncontrollable factors in the game itself, these caused many gamers who were once viewed as gods within the community to slowly fade out of sight. Those who managed to retire while at the height of their popularity could be counted on one hand. The better the gaming studio, the crueler the competition. They were always in need of fresh blood, newbies who were intensely competitive and could not wait to improve, the type of people who could pull down the God-type players at any moment. To put it simply, geniuses with ambition like Phantom Dawn. This time, Regulation Studio assigned 4 groups into Thriller Paradise. Each group had 10 members, and each group had 1 to 2 celebrity players while the rest were mainly experienced blue-collar players. Phantom Dawn was the only newbie who was less than 20 years old in those 4 groups. Regulation placed great hope on the young man, and that was why he was one of the first players to be assigned to join Thriller Paradise. The team leader did not give him any missions, he only needed to play the game. Who would have thought the man would come across the 3-man group led by Fearless Champion during his first killing game mode? Without giving his senior face, the teen had slaughtered all of them. In other words, being given a holiday due to his action was completely understandable. Of course, Fearless Champion was nowhere near the best the studio could offer. Among the group of celebrity players, whether it was in terms of past achievement or popularity, he was nowhere near the top 10 list. Even though his team had managed to get the title of the first group to have a player reach the maximum level of 20, that was not all Regulation had to offer. Those 4 groups could be considered the scouts. The strongest batch of players at Regulation only registered their accounts and locked in their IGNs before logging off. In other words, the real professionals at Regulations had not been assigned to Thriller Paradise. The higher-ups had their plan and decided to wait for the time being. Not until Dream Incorporated decided to open the paid service and currency exchange would they consider sending in their top players. Why so much exposition? What about Feng Bujue? What about the scenario at New Akar City? The digression to the issue of studios was because, inside this scenario, there were members from a gaming studio as well. But they did not belong to big studios like Regulation. Instead, they were third-tier gaming studios, the type where the owner was also the accountant and the player. He was Audiobook. His studio's name was Hyote. Audiobook was 20 years old in real life and had just graduated from university last year. His father owned a factory, so he came from quite a well-off family, one that allowed him to be lazy. After all, the capital needed to start a gaming studio was not high. One only needed to rent a place and buy a few gaming hubs. There was little to no investment in terms of workers because the employees were his university buddies. Currently, Audiobook only had 3 employees. One was in the same scenario, so hard to find a name, known as Mingzi henceforth. The other 2 were respectively a name is so hard to find known as Chu Ming henceforth and a hard find, one's name known as Hen Nan henceforth. Even though Audiobook had once seriously requested them to use IGNs like Kabeji and OSH** Terry, he was heartlessly rejected. When he threatened to withhold their salary, he was beaten up. Even their studio knew that there was a need to maintain shifts, so they were split into 2 groups. Currently, 2 of them were in-game, and the other 2 were out for supper. Audiobook had the appearance of a clean, handsome, and thin young man in-game. Overall, it was not that much different from his appearance in real life, except for some adjustments to his face. Mingzi had a medium-sized body and was slightly shorter than Audiobook. From his name and in-game appearance, he radiated an air of slovenliness and untidiness. He not only did not make himself look more handsome, he went the other way and changed his character into a bald guy, saying that he wanted to experience how it was to be bald at least in-game. Audiobook's title seemed to be a vicious joke, one common warrior. His weapon was a normal blade, like the ones used by extras in wuxia flicks. The quality was normal without special effects and elements, but at least it was an actual weapon. Different from the pedestrian title of Adobe Sama, Ming Zi's title was quite eye-catching Paper Tiger. He had a cowardly heart even though he looked like a bald gangster. This member did not even have a valid weapon. His backpack contained 2 baseball bats and a rusted iron pipe. Who knew where he picked them up? They were quite lucky because they landed just 1 block away from each other, so they met up soon. As untrustworthy as the pair looked, they had some advantages. If they knew nothing about gaming, then why would they open a gaming studio? Therefore, Adobe Sama made a very correct decision, which was to ignore the quest until they could properly arm themselves. Looking at the city, they knew that the game was set in America, the country of freedom and guns. Therefore, there had to be a gun store somewhere. Even if the gun store did not have any powerful weapons, standard pistol, rifles, and even magazines of ammo would be invaluable. The two moved down the street, occasionally running into BW zombies that roamed the street, but they posed very little threat. One whack to the head or just walking around them would solve the problem. Even though their speed would increase when they were within target range, as long as one was careful not to get surrounded at once by 3 or more monsters, the creatures were easy to deal with. After passing 2 blocks, Adobe Sama entered a phone booth. He picked up the phone, but there was no line. In reality, even if it was connected, he would not have known who to call. Was he going to call 911? The main reason he entered the structure was to look through the phone book. He looked for 3 minutes before locating the address of the nearest gun store. He and Ming Zi hurried toward their destination. After about 10 minutes of walking, they neared their destination but came across a strange scene. Around 30 or so BW zombies' bodies littered the street. Each body's head was smashed in, and the bodies formed a trail that led to the gun store entrance. In the middle of the street right before the shop, in broad daylight, sat a large ice barrel with the logo of the Gatorade company. It was filled with red liquid, and there were many empty plastic packets around the barrel. That thick and pure stench of blood could reach people's nostrils from a long distance away. 2 loudspeakers were placed next to the blood barrels, and it was playing the Spain Matador March. Based on the marks on the ground, the speakers appeared to have been dragged out from the opposite audio and visual shop. One of the generators by the roadside had been pried open, and it was unclear what was happening inside, but in any case, the electric cable was connected to it. What in the world is happening here? Ming Zi asked. Adobe Sama did not have the slightest clue, but before he could say anything, he saw a BW zombie flying out from behind the right-hand corner of the blood barrel. Then a man soaked in blood walked out from it. He had a sharp knife in one hand and a wrench in another. A long string of garlic was strung on each of his shoulders, forming a giant X on his back. They were all dyed red by blood. His steps were in time with the Matador music, dancing a dance that was similar to the one shown in the movie Kung Fu. On top of that, he was chewing something that looked a white chewing gum in his mouth. With light and almost graceful steps, he moved toward the BW zombie and then rained heavy blows on the poor zombie who had not gotten up from the ground. Blood oozed, and brain matter flew. After dealing with this monster, the man seemed to realize something as he straightened up and turned around. Adobe Sama and Ming Zi fell into his gaze. After holding Feng Bujue's gaze for 2 seconds, both of them yelled in unison and turned to escape. Run! Run for your life! Feng Bujue did not waste time and chased after them. He wanted to yell, "Why are you running? I'm also a player." However, since his mouth was filled with garlic, it made that impossible. On the other side, seeing the stranger chasing after them, Ming Zi's terror points instantly soared. As he ran, he complained to Adobe Sama. "This is over. We're dead if we're caught by this madman. This is all your fault. Why did you suggest we come to the gun store? You should have known the system would place a mini-boss there. Adobe-sama turned his head back occasionally to follow Feng Bujue's movement. The latter was approaching. What does that have to do with me? How could I have known about that beforehand? He turned back again. What the hell? How can he run faster than us? I realized that earlier. He's ridiculously fast. Ming Zi groaned despairingly. Feng Bujue, who was 20 meters behind them, heard their conversation and mocked internally, that's only natural because I'm wearing jazz shoes. Do you two really expect to outrun me? At that moment, the pair suddenly said in unison, let's split up. At the next junction, they separated, one going left and other going right. Feng Bujue exclaimed internally, what the? Even they know how to use tactics. Without giving it much thought, he turned left, and the unlucky winner was Adobe-sama. Damn. That didn't give him any hesitation. Adobe-sama cried to himself. He abandoned that damn baldy and charged at me directly. It must be because of how handsome I am. Seeing Feng Bujue's approach, Adobe-sama's terror points continued to rise. He knew that he was going to get caught soon. Instead of being killed by a backstab, he decided to make a last stand. With that in mind, he suddenly stopped, grabbed his blade, and slashed at the approaching Feng Bujue. When Feng Bujue reached him, Adobe-sama suddenly realized that he was unable to wave the blade, his action was restricted by the system. Feng Bujue reached the man and stopped to catch his breath. He glared at the youth and uttered between breaths, one of the players. You. Beep. Idiot was censored by the system. Technically speaking, Feng Bujue could not have said the sentence in the first place, but since only one word was censored, it meant that he did not mean to insult but was merely jokingly mocking the man. Ha! Adobe-sama's legs weakened, and he fell to the ground. With a blanched face and quivering lips, the man apologized. I'm sorry. Chapter 49 The Peerless Garlic 3. Chapter 49 The Peerless Garlic 3. Since Feng Bujue did not chase after Ming Zi, the latter started to slow down once he realized that no one was tailing him. Several seconds later, Ming Zi decided to stop and turn around to look down the block. From afar, he saw Feng Bujue catching up to Adobe, and when he thought that Adobe was about to be killed, he was shocked to notice that no fight broke out. Heightening his surprise, 2 minutes later, the two walked toward him side by side. Adobe even waved at Ming Zi, as if telling him that he was all right. Soon, they returned to the gun store. Feng Bujue turned off the speakers and explained the situation to them. So, after some experiments, I have basically grasped the several properties of these BW zombies. Even though the opening CG has mentioned some of them, I feel like it's better to go over them again. First, they are greatly averse to the smell of garlic, like how we would react to tear gas. The effect of fresh garlic is less than desirable, but after chewing it in your mouth, the smell coming from your mouth will be very effective. Big brother, I've been meaning to ask, is it okay for you to be covered in blood like this? Aren't you afraid of being infected? Ming Zi asked after seeing Feng Bujue and the 2 strings of garlic that were drenched in blood. Feng Bujue pointed at his face, which was relatively clean. Just be careful to not let the monster's bodily fluid splash into your eyes or mouth. He then pointed at his clothes. But I know you mean this. Well, it looks a bit much, but actually, not all of this is monster blood. When I was pouring the blood packs into the barrel, some accidentally splashed on me. He then took out a full plastic bag from his inventory and placed it on the ground. It was filled with clean garlic. The 2 strings I have are my final line of defense, and I kept the edible ones in my backpack. You should go. Find some bags, and I'll share some of mine with you. You just need to chew on them during battle, and the monsters will practically be defenseless. I'll just take one. After all, you can get around 7 cloves from a bulb, and should we run out, we'll ask more from you, Mingzi I said. I don't need it, thank you, Adobe-sama said straightforwardly. Looks like neither of you like the smell of garlic, Feng Bujue said with solemnity. Do you know that garlic is the best accompaniment to soup noodles? Nope, they answered in unison. Feng Bujue used a wicked expression and breathed out at them. We're not monsters. What are you doing? Feng Bujue turned serious again. Then, we shall now talk about the properties of BW zombies. You sure change fast enough. Sunlight will slow them down. Feng Bujue continued the description. As slow as the transformation of Sailor Moon fighters, when she finished changing. I mean, when it starts attacking, I could have finished reciting 2 poems already. Man, you sure have broad interests. Feng Bujue glanced at the dead bodies on the street. Even though decapitation can stop the mobility of their bodies, the head will still be alive. After my experiments, only by destroying their hindbrain or blowing their head up with a gun will you be able to kill them. As he said that, he pulled out a shotgun from his backpack and used an admiring gaze to study the weapon. This Winchester I found in the store here is perfect for a job like that. Even if you fail to hit the head at a close distance, it'll still leave behind a large hole in the other part of its body, and it's far more damaging than a pistol. That's right, the gun store. Adobe-sama's eyes widened. I almost forgot about that. Let's go grab some weapons first. He rushed into the shop with Mingzi. The two were players who were desperately in need of weapons, and they had not seen an excellent quality item before. For them, to be able to upgrade from cold steel to firearms was already a great reward. For someone as low level as Feng Bujue to have 4 excellent items and one that he temporarily could not equip in his bag was hard to imagine for anyone else. Adobe-sama and Mingzi rushed into the store and were greeted by a mess. The shelves on the walls were empty, gun parts littered the cupboards and ground, while the storeroom behind the counter looked like it had been ransacked as well. Feng Bujue walked in behind them and continued in his level tone. Logically speaking, after a virus epidemic, the first place to be ransacked will be the gun store. On top of that, to keep the game difficulty, they won't provide us with too many weapon choices. Adobe-sama did not appear to hear Feng Bujue. He looked over the moon as he picked up 2 pistols from the ground and slipped them into his backpack. He then grabbed a TMP and laughed. We've hit mother load this time. Mingzi tossed out the baseball bat and rusted pipe from his inventory and replaced them with 2 pistols. He grabbed a .45 rifle, and he looked as overjoyed as his friend. The two looked like beggars being given a huge donation after getting some normal quality guns. Honestly, it was quite pitiable. Compared to actual professional players, both their standards and way of thinking were incredibly amateurish. With the reminder from Feng Bujue, the two finally remembered something important. They took out the pistols from their backpacks awkwardly, looked at their bullets, and went searching for suitable ammo. The 3 returned to the street, and by then, around 5 BW zombies had been attracted. Feng Bujue suggested that they use those monsters as live targets to practice on, to get used to the guns. After some fumbling, they finally understood how to operate firearms. After firing some rounds, they realized that their accuracy was very low if they were 10 meters away from the target, but once the distance was narrowed down to less than 5 meters and with a steady hold on the gun, the accuracy rate greatly improved. After dealing with all the monsters, Feng Bujue said, "Where was I earlier? Oh, right, the next property is that The vampire's desire for blood is evident in these BW zombies as well. They are attracted by the smell of blood. Of course, it has to be uninfected human blood. I believe, they are able to discern that from smell alone. These BW zombies' sense of smell must be less powerful than pure werewolves but stronger than normal zombies. If living humans like us appear within 50 meters of one's radius, they don't need to rely on their sight to discover us. They are able to track exposed human blood in the air from almost 1 kilometer away, and they are intensely attracted to it. You're joking, right? This entire city is practically a murder scene, and they can identify a barrel of human blood through the heavy stench. Adobsamo looked at the blood barrel. It's normal. One of the trademarks of a good sense of smell is the separation of smells. For example, a drug hound will be able to analyze the makeup of a stench on a molecular level, Feng Bujue answered. Let's say you go and sniff a pile of poop, at most you'll know it's smelly, but for a creature with good sense of smell, they can even know what the person that made the poop had the day before. Now, I only want to know why your analogy wasn't censored by the system, Adobsama complained. Under normal circumstances, the word poop is not viewed as an offensive term, it is just a noun, Feng Bujue explained. Based on my speculation, the system might even come up with a scenario where the players have to talk about this item. With a dark face, he said, for example, a situation where the players might be drowning inside a pool of poop. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Adobsama quickly clamped his hands over his ears and repeated those words to himself. Feng Bujue shrugged and did not finish the disgusting topic, switching subject. Since we've met each other, things will be simpler. The time now is 2:30 p.m. You should use this place as a base and try to kill as many monsters as you can. Since the gun store is just next to you, even though there aren't that many guns left, there is plenty of ammo. I will go ahead to look for other players and bring them here. He raised his head to look at the sky. Whether I can find them or not, I'll return before the sun sets. Then he was reminded of something. Oh, sounds can attract the monsters as well, so turn the speakers on after I leave. Wait a minute, Mingzi, I said. I've been meaning to ask this. His eyes looked at the barrel, empty blood packs, speakers, and so on. How did you manage to do all this? The general process was, before coming to the gun store, I went to a hospital around 2 blocks away. At the time, I wanted to see if I could find any medicine but accidentally realized that the monsters are attracted to human blood. After exploring the hospital, I came here and decided to make this place a base. Therefore, I went to the nearby shopping complex to grab a trolley and rush to the hospital. I found the blood bank, kicked down the door, grabbed around 10 blood packs, and brought them back here in the trolley. Then I hauled the barrel from the opposite shop and filled it with blood. The speakers, I grabbed from the shop in between monster waves. The reason was because the music can attract the monsters, and because the monsters were coming too slowly, I was rather bored just standing there. In any case, you can train your level here without worry. This scenario's limitation on time is very relaxed, so we should make use of this opportunity to raise our mastery level and earn more skill points. After explaining all that, he waved his sleeves and turned to leave, leaving behind the 2 professional players, watching him walk away. Chapter 50 The Peerless Garlic 4. Chapter 50 The Peerless Garlic 4. Compared to Feng Bujue, Wang Tanzi was not that calm and collected. As someone who was more innocent, when he dropped to the ground, he did not think much of it and started to tackle the main quest. As naive as he was, at least he was an efficient player. He soon found a city map at the roadside newspaper stall and got the address for Alerb. Xiao Tan thought that his other teammates would be heading there as well, so if he hurried toward the building, he would meet up with them. Along the way, he killed quite a number of monsters. The closer he got to the building designated by the main quest, the more zombies there were. Perhaps because it was still daylight, even though Xiao Tan was alone, he managed to keep hold of his terror points. Compared to the zombies in movies, it was hard to say which one was scarier, these BW zombies or the movie zombies. But the key issue was that they moved too slowly and were unable to create a sense of danger. In broad daylight, walking past the monsters that posed no threat, it was as relaxing as walking through a group of zombie cosplayers at a convention. Perhaps after dark, things might change. At around 2:30 p.m., when Feng Bujue left his own base to go searching for people, Xiao Tan had already reached the entrance to the Audiobook company. The building was 52 stories tall, and there was a large logo attached to the top floor Audiobook. It was like the headquarters of the Avengers, as if they were afraid that people did not know about them. The fact that the company could place its logo on the outside of the building proved that the building was their own asset. From the introduction, this Audiobook company was undeniably the center that did research on the virus. Holding the baseball bat in his hand, Wang Tanzi slowly moved forward. The dried blood on the weapon proved the wielder's ruthlessness when faced with his earlier adversaries. When comparing fighting ability, Dr. Wang might not be weaker than Feng Bujue. To put simply, with their current character levels and abilities, the actions they could do were not outside the realm of possibilities for a normal human being. There were many BW zombies milling about the entrance of the building. When they spotted a living human, they started to gather toward it. The space before Xiao Tan was covered by the building's shadow, and the BW zombies moved faster there compared to when they were exposed to sunlight. They were as fast as the zombies in movies. Of course, compared to recent movies where the zombies could run, jump, open doors, and even drive and use guns, they were still relatively weak. Xiao Tan was finally a bit shaken. Looking at the furry zombies crawling toward him, even if he broke the bat he was holding, he might not be able to fell all of them. Then he noticed something very strange. There were no dead BW zombies around him. If a teammate had already entered the building, then, they would have had to pass through this crowd of zombies. No matter how agile they were, they had to kill at least 5 or 6 to cut their way through, right? But before the building, there were no zombies that were not shuffling toward him. Looks like I'm the first one here, Xiao Tan said to himself as he started to retreat. Since there was a chance that his teammates had not arrived, there was no need for him to rush in. He decided to wait outside for other people to arrive first. With that thought in mind, he decided to retreat, but once he turned around, he triggered an event, and a gatekeeper mini-boss appeared. Xiao Tan was facing away from the building, and about 100 meters in front of him, in the middle of the street, stood a large shadow about 2.5 meters tall. Xiao Tan had no idea when the thing arrived, but he was clear that this was not a monster that he could kill with a baseball bat. The upper half of the monster had completely turned into a werewolf because it was covered in brown fur. There was no exposed skin on its face or arms, and its head even looked like a wolf with claws as fingers. There was no visible sign of vampirism on its body, but it did show signs of being a zombie. There was a large wound on its left chest, and one could look through its body through it, but the problem was, looking through the hole. There were no internal organs. Instead, trapped inside the ribcage were some bloody human heads. This mini-boss could be called a zombie werewolf because it did not look like a vampire at all. Perhaps because of that, it was not affected by the sunlight, and its size had broken through the humanoid limitation. The zombie werewolf stomped towards Xiao Tan, and the pressure caused by its presence and appearance could not be put into words. Xiao Tan's terror points climbed wildly while sweat poured, but he was not frozen to the spot. He knew that he could not turn back to the building, and facing against this mini-boss was going to cause his death, so his only Solution was to flee from the side. He was in too much of a hurry to pick an escape route. His eyes landed on an open street, and he launched forward. The path he picked was a descending slope, and it led to the entrance of an underground parking lot. When he realized that, the walls around him were already higher than the height that he could climb out of, so the only option he had was to keep running. Seeing his escape, the zombie werewolf naturally gave chase. Thankfully, the monster was not a real werewolf, and it did not seem to know that running on 4 limbs would be faster than running on 2 legs. Still, compared to the slow shuffling of the BW zombies, it was already very fast, and Xiao Tan had trouble introducing distance between them. Soon, Xiao Tan reached the gate to the underground parking lot. The gate was just tall enough for him to leap over and would not block his way, but the problem was, he realized that the underground parking lot did not have any light. His legs were still pushing him forward, but his hands reached into his backpack to grab the flashlight. Something suddenly entered his sight. Not far from the gate inside the parking lot, there were some moving shadows. Then, something worse happened. Initially, Xiao Tan had only seen several shadows, but once he got closer, he realized that the dark parking lot was crammed with BW zombies. So many monsters are hiding in such places where the sun cannot reach. Xiao Tan exclaimed internally, but there was no time for him to digest this shock. He had to choose between the mob of BW zombies or the single strong zombie werewolf. Of course, based on the current situation, if he rushed into the darkness, he would instantly be torn into pieces, so he had no choice but to turn and face the mini-boss. With Xiao Tan's power level, killing the zombie werewolf was going to be hard. But as long as he saved his energy and played his cards right, things might not turn out so bad for him. He had 2 solutions, one was to use the slowing sands, and the second was to use the special power provided by his title Panicked Hidden Assailant Fleeing Strike. Skill name, Fleeing Strike. Special power type, Active. Consumption, 30% of maximum stamina points. Effect, can be activated when an attack lands. The user will move backward at ultra-high speed, to pull themselves at least 10 meters away from the target. No cooldown time, can be used only when the user is armed with cold steel. Remark, I jump back out, and I jump back in. What's wrong? Why aren't you hitting me, you dummy? The first method would be able to help Xiao Tan escape. 1 minute was more than enough to run away from the monster, but Xiao Tan could think of better uses for slowing sands. This scenario was one that leaned heavier on combat, and he imagined that there would come a time when he was surrounded by more BW zombies or when they were facing the final boss. The item might be what they needed to turn things around, and using it now seemed like such a waste. The second method was very risky. To use this skill to escape, he had to somehow reach behind the zombie werewolf or at least be facing away from the slope, and on top of that, he had to land a hit on the monster. The memory of Brother Long Between slammed away by the strengthened zombie was still fresh in his mind. Xiao Tan did not think that the zombie werewolf was weaker than that monster. Just in terms of levels, the average level of the players in this scenario was almost twice the average level of the players in that earlier scenario. Extenuating factors aside, one could speculate the monster's strength. While Xiao Tan was hesitating, the zombie werewolf was approaching. Just as the monster was about to attack, it suddenly stopped. It turned around and completely ignored Wang Tanzi's presence. Its head turned in a direction, and a growl escaped its throat. Tat, tat, tat. The sound of heavy metallic boots hitting the ground echoed down the streets, and 2 elongated shadows appeared at the top of the slope. Since they were facing away from the light, Xiao Tan could not see their faces. But from the monster's reaction, they were either other players or a hostile NPC. There was a warrior from Hebei named Pang Feng. His ambition as large as the galaxy, a million soldiers marched under his name. A reincarnated god, Phoenix was his nickname. His reputation reached far and wide, a hero was his destiny. One of them recited this strange poem as he walked forward. The man did not look that impressive, roughly in his 30s and with a full goatee. He had a large axe in his arms, and that was more eye-catching than its wielder. So far, this was the first time that Wang Tanzi had seen someone use this kind of weapon, which was larger than its wielder. The presence was indeed domineering. "Little buddy, don't be afraid." The one who spoke was none other than unparalleled General Pan Feng. "With me and brother Hua here, no harm will come to you." Thousand Kills Hua Xiong was also holding a long weapon, a spear. He looked about as old as Pan Feng, and he also had a glorious mustache. Brother Pan's words are not to be mistrusted. "Little buddy, please patient a tad longer. A monster of this level is not to be afraid of. Killing it will be no different from slaughtering a pig or a dog." Wang Tanzi's only thought was, "Did I stumble into some kind of period drama, or have I lost my mind?" Part 5 of the series ends here. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe so we can be motivated to make even better videos in the future.